Soul expressions from the inner to the outer, the highest and lowest meet. The expression of the soul into reality. A weekly discussion with the emphasis on the soul's journey through the dimensions, the process of expression from the world of thought to the world of manifestation. With Bartzis and JayP. You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
And welcome everybody to another episode of Soul Expressions. Today's Tuesday, May the 28th, 2013. I'm joined by my co-host JayP, also known as Prometheus. We're also joined today by Cyndi Lebermann, Michael Monk, and Matthew Michaud. Matthew is a master student of Michael's. This show, Soul Expressions, today is about talking about energy. I'd like to give Michael the mic a second here, and as we can go around and have each person talking about energy and using it.
Well, sure. Energy is basically my life. Is what I do for a living. Is I teach energy, and I practice energy pretty much all day, every day. I guess you could say what I do is that I offer demonstrations of the things that I teach, which are different forms of telekinesis, like aerokinesis, pyrokinesis, weather control, shaping clouds, things like that. And so it's pretty interesting because we can show a tangible proof that we're connected to things past our body, that we're actually one with the world, and obviously able to demonstrate that, because if you're one with something, then your thoughts, your mind is actually inside of it, and you can affect a great change on it. And we also do a lot of healing work and teaching in multidimensional out-of-body travel. And for those of you interested in checking out our work, you can go to avatarenergymaster.com. We got lots of video demonstrations there, and lots of interesting philosophy that we post, and you can check out everything that we're doing.
Matthew, how long have you been studying with Michael?
I've been with Michael for about a year now, and I started out in this course roughly about a year ago. Since then, we've become pretty much brothers. And just like Michael, same here. Energy is also my life, all day, every day. And that's just a lifestyle, We do teach techniques and things in the course, but it basically integrates into your life and becomes part of your everyday walk. Me and Michael are similar, but also very different in that he works very good with the dense energies. I work, I like to call the upper energies, so I'm good with the clairvoyance, orbing, and time travel, dreams, and things of that nature. Mm-hmm.
So we'll move on to Cyndi a second. Cyndi, what's your view on energy?
Well, I'm a nature girl, and I've always been plugged in, barefooted, and communicating with animals at all times. And it's been about 2 years since I've woke up and actually learned how to start working with and using the energy for the benefit of others and myself. And I'm honored to be on the call with you guys, because everything that you just said is just amazing. That's how I live my life every day, is trying to remain working with the energies in balance. So I live on the West Coast, and I'm just a few blocks from the ocean, and I do so much grounding work and meditation, and I'm a Reiki healer, and I'm really having some amazing experiences with the telekinesis myself. So, and I'm so interested in honing these skills and mastering this. This is amazing.
So you're really skilled as an animal trainer. You were a horse whisperer and a dog
I'm a horse whisperer, yes.
Yes,
and I was literally born on a horse and grew up around them from day one, and I always had a ability to make them come to me, and basically they do anything I ask them to do. It's grown into, I attract lots of other animals, cats, dogs, birds, and children. It's amazing just when you're out there plugged in and feeling everything. The pure souls, and those are our animals and our children that have been uncorrupted to a certain degree, they feel you. And they are drawn to you like a moth to a flame. So every day something happens that just makes me go, oh, cool.
And JayP, what is your view on energy and how you work with it in your life?
I work with it in several forms. Of course, I work with information as energy, as I write software. I work with sound as energy, as a guitar player. And I also work with the ray energies which are the frequencies of personalities and souls. So I read people's souls by their frequency, their energy. So they're all the same words. They're all synonyms. Energy, frequency, pitch. They're all the same.
Michael and Matthew, why don't you tell us about some of your results with aerokinesis or telekinesis?
Matthew, you can go ahead and go first on that one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll go into the aerokinesis, and one of the things I've been working with a lot lately is just with the clouds, which is a good place to actually start, or the wind, because it's such a lighter density. Then telekinesis, working with an object, that's a heavier vibration. So for some, they jump into it and they get it just like that. But for me, I like to work with the clouds, and what I'll do is and anything we touch outside of ourselves we're connected with. It is us, expanded out beyond us in a different vibration or a different density. So those clouds, like we teach in the course, we're all expanded 360 degrees outside of our body. So basically the clouds are our body, and we feel them as our body. In other words, when the clouds go over my head and they're moving just slightly, I can feel it moving as the top of my head. So what I'll do is, once you make that connection with everything outside, I'll push my mind inside of a particular cloud. I'll push my heartbeat in, is one way that I'll do it. And I'll hold myself in that particular place in what we would call like an orb. And I'll allow my heart to beat. And with each beat, it will boom, boom, push that cloud out further and further, and it just disperses. And that's one way that we teach to do it. And another way that we like to do it is to use breath. And that would be to connect your breath and visual to the cloud. And you just begin to, once you can feel that cloud, you can begin to breathe it in from out there. And you can pull it out of the sky, or you can change the shapes of the cloud. You can do the same thing with these clouds with the wind, or with a solid object as well. Although like I said, it's a little bit harder as it gets denser and heavier. So it's a building process. And as you do it every day, it's kind of like lifting weights. You just get stronger and stronger and more connected, and you get that clean connection, and it becomes just secondhand nature.
Michael?
Yeah, the basics of all of this, when a soul is first in the body, it operates within the nerve fiber system and the neuron structure of the brain. So what the physical reality is a fixed vibrational interpretation which is geared through the five senses, and everything takes place in a certain range, eyesight, hearing, touch, smell, everything. What we train as energy masters is actually building the nerve fibers and working on connections. So many people, when they find us, they want to go right away into the telekinesis, and it just doesn't work like that. You've got to build the nerve fiber system and your sensitivity, your mental sensitivity, to expand past the range of touch. And what ends up happening is you begin to perceive your electromagnetic soul connection past the body, and your mind is able to actually expand out into that. So the more you do focus exercises, the more your nerve fibers build in size, so you conduct a stronger soul charge, because you can ground more of the soul into the body. And your sensory nerves also increase in size and sensitivity, which allows your mind to steadily better be able to perceive the energy around itself. And this is a continuous process. So the core of everything we do is focus exercises to train the consciousness and to build the nerve fibers. But once you can begin to feel all things past your body as being a part of yourself, then you realize that your breath and your heartbeat can actually go out into these areas as well, because above all else, breath is a symbol. It's a willpower. It's a motion that we use to flex energy. And if you're on the physical pattern, the only type of energy you can flex with it is, the muscles that cause the air to come in and out. But what we learn to do is to get that willpower of breath expanded past the body and into the world around us. And we can also do that with the heartbeat by transferring a pulse from our any part in our body where the heart's beating. We can actually project that out. So what we learn to do is to actually use the form of magnetics. I call it biomagnetics, because every living thing that there is on the whole planet is attracted or repelled by biomagnetics. It's the same type of energy that gravity works on, so it's a little different than metallic like magnetism. But we expand out and we use the physical symbology tools that we have within the body, which is the mental memorization of physical motions as well as the breath and the heartbeat, and we expand these out into the air around us, or if it's a telekinesis, we get it inside an object inside of a sealed container. Or if it's atmokinesis with the clouds, we merge with that area and become one with its magnetics and literally feel it as a part of ourself. And then we can use a series of mental motions and cause expansions and contractions that obviously has a big impact on the weather in your area. Like if you've got a really rainy day and you would like it to open it up a little bit, well, you expand your soul and your mind up into the atmosphere and you disperse its density. You put a big echo up there, and sure enough, within a short period of time, it'll stop raining for a little bit. Now, I'd like to note that the collective unconscious of humanity is doing this all day, every day. They're basically creators of the weather here, and they're just completely unaware of the mechanisms by which their thoughts, moods, and emotions actually create all of this. So as an energy master, we can halt the patterns that have been unconsciously put into place by the bulk of people not being aware of their connection and their power. But another great way, actually a more effective way of creating the weather, is to do collective consciousness manifestations via the time stream. So if you do have, like, let's say a rainy day, and you can extend a lot of energy and you can open up a hole and get it to stop raining for a straight half an hour, but if the collective unconscious motions had already put into gear on the timeline that it's going to be a rainy day, well, eventually, unless you keep pouring energy into it, the rain's going to come back. So what we learn to do also is to project on the time stream and influence the collective unconsciousness to create the weather a certain way on that upcoming event, and it's far more effective that way. It does work in density, so obviously physical matter is the hardest to influence by biomagnetism. Water being the second, then air and fire, which are basically about pretty close to the same vibration. It's actually probably the most impressive videos we have are where we just randomly select all these different clouds and make them disappear in a matter of seconds. It looks really cool to the eye, but it's actually harder to get your local wind that's around your body to move, because that's a denser vibration. And then we have, water demonstrations where we set our hands still inside of the water, expand our soul into it, and make mental motions, and we cause the water to start rippling, and that's even harder to do than the air and the clouds, but looks less impressive. So it's with biomagnetism, like I was saying, it goes on the density, and that's more using a type of force or power. Though some communication is involved. I mean, obviously you've got to feel yourself as being the thing that you want to move or change, or you can't do it. Like, to help people understand this, I always say if you're sitting on your chair the wrong way and you cut off circulation to your leg and you go to stand up and it's numb and you can't feel it, well, guess what? You can't move it. It just falls. You have to wait till you can feel your leg again before you you can move it. So many people are trying to train telekinesis, especially the young ones coming up today, and I applaud them for that. But they don't understand that they need to train on the connection, because the connection is the ability itself. So at our school, at the Avatar Energy Mastery Institute, we focused exclusively on connection for like the first 3 to 6 months, learning how to tune ourselves to feel everything as being a part of ourself. And finally, I'd like to say that there is a form of telekinesis that doesn't involve any energy whatsoever, just pure communication between yourself and the object you want to change. And that has to do with a purity of connection. Like you obtain such a purity of connection with the other self, in this case, let's say it's a puddle of water, then you just ask it to do something, and it does, and it's amazing. But your connection has to be like absolute pure. At this point, at this stage in our development, it's not something we've mastered. But I had an instance that I'll always remember where I'm showing somebody the use of biokinetic energy in the winter. There's a little puddle of frozen water, and I said, "Here, watch this." I place my fingertips on top of the ice, and I start expanding the density and running a vibration through it that'll strike some friction in the atoms and molecules. And within a few seconds, I was able to get a thin sheet of moisture on top by using my energy. But the puddle was like, 6 inches thick. And as soon as I got the melted surface on the top, the sunlight was shining, and I started seeing all these diamond sparkly refractions, and I got caught up in the moment, in the beauty of the water, and I just said, "Oh my God, you're so beautiful." And I felt this perfect connection. I said, "Would you change to water for me?" And the instant I said that, my hand drops down like 2 inches, like 2 inches of ice transformed into water, with no energy exchange whatsoever, no friction, no heat, nothing, just communication, and then the molecular structure changing.
Matthew, have you done anything like that?
With the objects, I can move maybe a small object like a straw, but that, I know what Mike was talking about, having that clean connection, because I do know that all of these things are swimming consciousness, and if you can make that connection, that they are living. So I know exactly what he's saying. I'm yet to have it, but I know it's coming.
Well, honestly, I feel like, number one, the children are really turning on. My 2 oldest daughters, their abilities are, some of the things they call me up and tell me are just off the wall, fascinating, amazing. But one of the things that I wanted to mention, because your stories are both, this just fascinates me, because I've been playing with the clouds for a while now. One of the things that I do when I'm working energy is I'm just 10-minute walk from the beach here, and I go out there at sunset quite often, and I pull all the elements in. I'm barefooted, standing on the earth in the water, looking into the sun, so I've got the fire and breathing the air and pulling the love, and that's how I send my energy. It's basically what I'm doing is I'm standing in the waves and just blasting. And when I do that, I get an air show. It's just amazing what I see, and sometimes I will stop to take the camera and snap pictures of the images that the clouds make, first of all, and then all the critters that come along. I'll get dolphins jumping in the ocean and an air show of birds flying around me. I just had to throw that in there. I'm really excited to be listening and talking with you guys.
Oh, that was Cyndi. We were down at Michael's not too long ago, and it was really cool. Now I'm thinking his stuff is popping into my head as we're talking. Me and Michael, we like to go out on his porch. He has a nice back porch, beautiful scenery. And we go out late at night, 1 a.m, and actually connect our orbs together and use the stars as a meeting point. And we would let's use this one now. And not only would they begin to twinkle, but we would begin to tug them around. Us combining our energy, it seems almost like it just amplifies it.
Someone else with the same mindset, and you're both focused on the same thing. The power of us humans combined is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is an amplification effect that occurs when two souls connect in any way, but when it's in physical proximity, it's massively amplified. Like
where two or more are gathered, and that's all, I always said that's where that came from. Where two or more are gathered, two heads are better than one. All those cliches that we grew up listening to. So if you connect, it's the power multiplied.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the possibilities are endless here, and everybody's waking up. And some people are really focused and really paying attention and are genuine and pure of soul. I think every day it just grows by leaps and bounds, the abilities and the synchronicities, the signs that you see that you're on the right path.
Like Cyndi said, when two come together, we literally come together. And
right.
To me, it feels as if that my multidimensional selves actually collapse into this one body in order to speak to anyone who needs to hear what they would need to hear, and that maybe I wouldn't be consciously aware of. But at this time, since there's so many people listening, those things just naturally happen. The consciousness just collapses into me, and I feel, oh, okay, now. And all of a sudden, things that as you speak, you're learning, things that you didn't know prior, because I'm mingling with you guys, I'm mingling with the audience. So for me, it's a win-win situation every time, and I learn a lot.
That's cool.
Learning by default.
Cyndi, you do quite a bit of radio with Santos Bonacci, and you have your own radio show coming up, and you host webinars. What's it like when you host in webinars and the people start flowing in?
Well, I'll tell you, you were talking about doing a demonstration about can you affect the computers? I knock my computers out all the time, and a lot of times if I'm stressed out or if something is, especially depending on the phase of the moon, when we have certain shows that go on, everything starts breaking down, and it really becomes an issue of getting control of my mind and controlling, my emotions and not, my blood pressure, the whole works. Because if I let myself get out of whack, the programs we use will start malfunctioning. But the School of the Holy Science, we've had quite a few issues, all of us, all of you guys included, through Skype and all these signals that are getting crossed and all this energy. I think we're going through an amazing amount of uber intense energy right now. And you've got two sets of people, well, three, those that don't even know what's going on, those that know what's going on and are tuned into it and growing with it and working with it and using this energy for positive, and those who are crumbling in it, who are literally just falling apart with it, and everything has gone chaos, panic, and disorder in their lives. So you have a mixture of the latter two. You've got those and worried about the latest scores, and then you've got us that are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, consciously, subconsciously thinking up and co-creating and manifesting what we want for our future, for our children. And then there's that other class of people that they've been along the ride with us, but they're folding under the pressure. I've seen a lot of people who've lost it over the past. So you get a mixture of those energies. When you get into a room, it's almost like walking into a grocery store or a movie theater or whatever with a whole bunch of other people in physical form, that we've constantly got to be in control of our minds and our emotions, and don't let anybody get your gold. So everything starts malfunctioning if you're not right. And I do believe we can influence internet performance.
Hey, Michael, I got a question about that. I know you've done radio shows and stuff, and you've seen stuff interfered before. If you were to tell someone that's an energy master what you should do around your computer to neutralize the energy, and what would be the Michael Monk message for there?
Well, no matter what, reality is coming from the inside out for each of us. We're absolutely and entirely the creators of this reality from the inside out. I can go there with clairvoyance to the very deep inward levels of soul where my body disappears and all I see and perceive is infinite light flowing out of me and literally forming everything. So what the technology is literally an outer symbol that we use. It's a mental thought form that we've literally created to perform, to serve a function. And everything in this outer reality is literally sourced by us. It's just hard for your average person to perceive that connection. So when you encounter problems with the technology, you can find the problem within yourself, and then you can fix it. Like if you're watching a DVD or a movie and it starts skipping or not playing right, oftentimes you can just reach into yourself and feel that part of you inside of you that's happening, correct that, and then the outer reality corrects itself. That's often the case with technology too, especially with internet lag. Or a lot of times you'll be loading up your computer, right, and it'll just take forever. For some reason, it's getting all clogged, and then the more you stare at the screen, it's like you start clogging it more and more. If you just relax and expand your soul mass, next thing you know, the computer corrects itself and everything boots up okay. And I experience the same thing all the time with internet connections. Like when people are fading out, I can find that problem inside of me and then open up my channels and send those out into the internet, and all of a sudden the internet unclogs. I experience that all the time.
What about for dealing in a live situation where you have, let's say, 200 people in a chat room? I mean, how would you function with the energy with that?
In regards to, what do you mean?
Just say you wanted to do something to the energies to calm a chat room down, and you were just observing it. You weren't on air. Okay.
Oh, if I was just observing it.
Yeah.
I've never tried that with a. Well, no, that's not true. I do it on Facebook all the time. I do massive soul mass expansions with intent, and where I literally create hundreds or even thousands of orbs with specific energy and intent in them, and then send them out. I radiate them 360, and I can cause a shift in what people are talking about or posting or thinking about in the Facebook news feed. Peter Shelton and I like to play with that all the time. We'll do soul mass expansions together. We'll start thinking about one singular thing to the exclusion of other things, and before you know it, people are posting about it on the news feed. So I guess I could certainly apply that to a chat room. And obviously it's even more powerful when you're in person. See, everybody is emotionally connected whether they like it or not, period, end of discussion. It's just that the human brain is not currently equipped to have that data at the conscious head level. But all the time when I'm doing my soul mass expansion meditations, connecting to everything, like I'll be out on the porch, and my little 9-year-old can be inside of the house playing with that super high hyper child energy, and I can feel her emotions as a magnetic flux in the energy field, in the air itself, inside my body, inside of everything, like a stream pouring out of her, goes through me, connects through the neighbor's house. Next thing you know, the lady in the neighbor's house starts yelling and screaming, like all frustrated and flustered, and she has no clue that she's riding the emotional wave of a 9-year-old child at play one house over. Or like another instance that really helps people understand is I was doing a really deep soul expansion meditation at an old house that I had, and I started feeling a wave of negative energy coming in. So my soul mass expanded like 400 feet in every direction, and I can feel this influx of negative energy coming from the front of me, and it goes through an apartment building that was in front of me, and all of a sudden a guy starts yelling at his wife, and then it comes and hits me, and I just let it go right through me, because I'm in the zone. I know what it is. That goes through me, and as soon as it goes inside of my apartment, I hear my mom start yelling. Then it goes through another apartment. Baby starts crying. Then wife starts yelling at the husband, and none of these people understand that they're riding an emotional wave connection, because, like it or not, humanity is a collective consciousness already. They're already linked and interconnected in extremely subtle ways. It's just that the data is not getting to the forefront mind level of the people, but regardless, it's going into their subconscious, and we're all literally creating each other. Like I said recently that the God and the devil of this world is the collective unconscious of mankind. because our souls are already overlapped, and we, by not consciously understanding this, we're creating those aspects all around. But humanity is a sovereign creation and in complete authoritative sovereign control here, and it just, the means and the mechanism hasn't been brought to the conscious level of the minds of many. And with all this energy work, it starts with imagination, then it becomes a feeling, then it becomes a fact.
Well, why don't we take a break now? Dave Wolf Spirit, why don't you put on some break music, and when we come back, we can expand this concept a little more, how we can all come together and have techniques that we share and, devise a system.
This is Dave from the Wolf's Den Studios saying welcome to Wolf Spirit Radio. Wolf Spirit Radio is totally listener supported by folks like you who choose to help us stay on the air and grow.
Greetings and welcome back to Soul Expressions. And tonight we are joined by the delightful songbird Cyndi Lebermann, Michael Monk, and Matthew Michaud. So, Matthew, would you like to talk about some of the things that you've learned from following Michael's course?
Yeah, sure. One of the first things and the most important things that I did learn through the course was to find my core center. That place that, what I like to liken it to is like the sun, and it's in your center core, it is you, and that place which everything comes out of. Now, once I found that place, I could follow it out and see that it was actually creating everything, all of my organs, my body, and then it would shine out just like the rays of the sun or the heat of the sun would shine out from the sun. And it's an evolution process for the mind to get it, but once you start to feel, it comes beyond your body and goes past. That was one of the biggest game changers for me, was to begin to feel outside of my body as my nerve fibers would begin to grow, and I would get a heavier charge and a greater sensitivity to everything outside of me. So what I learned was by more experience, and that's what they teach in the course, is they pretty much we bring you into the experience itself. Instead of just giving you head knowledge, they actually give you techniques to build these nerve fibers. Now, once you get outside of yourself and you start to become the world around you, then actually the world itself, yourself from within begins to teach you. I like what Cyndi said. She likes to go into nature. Well, that's one of the greatest teachers. So once you can get this connection outside of yourself, you can connect with everything outside of yourself. And I think, Cyndi, you mentioned the trees were one of your big favorites, and that's also the same with me. I remember after I got this connection, I would walk into the woods and go sit next to a tree, and just data streams of information would come to me through the trees, through the nature, through the streams, through the literal ground energy and the everything, the sky. One time I sat down one of the first times I sat down, and I just started to understand things, and not being a religious person myself, but just these flashes of information like Buddha, the story of Buddha and why he sat under a Bodhi tree. And one time I was sitting down next to a tree and my spine was connected, and my spine seeped in and it's one with the tree. So it became my spine. And I would begin to use the roots to reach down into the ground energy. I would begin to sink into the tree and allow myself to literally seep into the tree and reach out with the branches into the upper energies. And I saw how all of these things are literally teachers. So the first thing was that I found my core and then stretched out with it 360 degrees. And like I've heard the ancient Egyptians used to say they had 360 senses, and that's what I believe they were talking about. I believe that they were stretched out and they were so in tune with nature, and they began to learn and just sit out there and listen to the birds, and things like this will just give you the deepest revelations and unlock so much understanding within you. And so from there, it's been nonstop every day. I have to go out to nature every day that I can. it's just a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful teacher.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. That's why I could relate so much with you, because when you said that, I'm like, oh,
well, yeah. If you think of it, looking at a tree from the top. If you're up in the sky looking down on a tree, 9 times out of 10, if you're going to see a sphere, a circle, the outline, and you've got a branch shooting in every point around that 360-degree circle, and I guess I've just kind of gone into thinking spherically. I put myself in a protection bubble when I wake up in the morning. And especially I enhance that bubble when I have to go into the public, or if I have to go around somebody that I know has got a negative attitude. But when you get next to a tree, though, I just made it a habit, because I go, I take all these walks, and I go with my trash bag, and I pick up the trash. I clean up. I can't see trash and not pick it up. And as I'm walking, I'm usually barefooted, walking down these, just couple city streets to the beach, and I touch every tree on the way and thank it. And then I've got 4 big, beautiful trees in my backyard, and I go out there and I love on them and take care of them and lay up against them, fall asleep on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's and it's so healing. Just daytime or nighttime, it doesn't really matter. When you go plug yourself in and just the grass all around you, and I'm laying in the roots and digging my toes into the dirt, and it's just the most amazing feeling. It really is.
It is. And we like to say that truth has a vibe. Michael likes to say this, and I also like to say it. Truth has a vibration that can be felt.
And where I live is an extremely active place that I've done a few shows with Andrew, discussing a lot of the activity that happens around me. But I am on a Navy base, and I see I see spirits walking down the sidewalk in broad daylight in the old Navy uniforms. And I had some. It was pretty scary at first when I moved here, but like I said, everything around you is alive. Everything around you is a part of my house is alive, and yours is too. Some people are more sensitive to what's going on around them, but I'm either on a ley line or on a huge energy vortex. But there's a lot that I get here, and especially when I plug in into the area around me and get out into the grass, that's when some amazing stuff starts happening. And I see it in broad daylight. I see it at night. So
that's really cool that you're that sensitive. That's one of the first things. That is the first thing that we teach in the course, is when you come into the awakening course, is to get the sensitivity down, because out of that, everything else is a byproduct.
Yes.
You can feel. Can do anything. If you can't feel it, what can you do? But the sensitivity is a big deal. Out from that, just everything it comes out, and new things come out, and students come on the course, and they start telling us stuff that we're like, wow, that's, because everyone's learning together, and that's how it feels. So
it's learning how to control your space, actually, and when you've turned on to this energy or this sensitivity, some people, like I said, asking the same questions, wanting to know about the crystals, wanting to know about they were just waking up all at once. In the age of information, ignorance is a choice. So if there's no excuse, we've got to just continue to grow every day. And the more we come together, the more we will advance.
Absolutely. That's what I love most about it, is the coming together of all of us. It's such a family thing. You can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Michael, I got a couple of questions for you. When you were trying to figure out what kind of demonstrations you wanted to do, like what other things did you try out?
I tried quite a few things, because it's there's a lot of things that I can do that don't necessarily make as good of a demonstration, either for visual reasons on the eye or because a person can't say that it wasn't a natural phenomenon. So I really had to experiment with quite a few things. I did some telekinesis work with balloons, but there was no way to like prove that it wasn't static. And
you and I talked before about you trying with bubbles, soap bubbles.
Yeah, that's a new one that I actually haven't tried that yet to show orbing, because it's something we teach in the course in the advanced sections is how to do true Merkaba travel, which is by summoning an orb of light. And by summoning, I don't mean that it's some outside spirit. I mean, it's part of you. It's part of your energy, your own soul. You project out and you condense it into a sphere. And then you can literally put your mind inside of it, and it's another body of yours. You can see, hear, taste, touch, and smell through it, and move it around mentally. It's very hard to, because if a person isn't clairvoyant, then they can't necessarily see the orb. So what a student of mine just came up with like a couple of weeks ago was his kid was blowing bubbles, and he orbed into one and took control of the bubble and froze it in midair, and then was able to move it around. So it's on my grocery list to buy some bubbles so that I can try to get a good demonstration of doing that. But yeah, that one would be really good. That would be a solid demonstration that would be pretty hard to argue. If you get a couple energy masters together that overlap souls, we can simulate the vibration of the sun by memory recall, and expand soul mass, and literally the birds come to life. It could be 1 o'clock in the morning and they'll think it's broad daylight. They'll start chirping and flying around. They can see by the light you're providing and everything, even though it's not on the visible spectrum. And literally, like, you can make the whole park come to life with birds at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. But how could a person, if I made a video of that, they could just say that I inserted those sounds. So I haven't really found a solid way to get that one. Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about a primary thing that we do to help people connect to nature and feel all things as being part of the self. It's something that I call sensory overlap. So we have this physical reality that we've set up. Once again, the physical reality is a fixed vibrational range of interpretation. That's all it is. That's what we call a physical or a solid reality, is our consciousness being anchored onto a range of vibrational interpretation that we call the five senses. Well, we have within our very brain mechanism natural pathways to where we can interconnect and overlap these sensations. So in truth, there's really only one sense, and that's vibration. We've learned how to interpret that 5 different ways in different ranges. What you can learn to do consciously is overlap these. So by getting your soul concentration force into your mind center and using a combination of your pineal gland, which enables you to sense vibrations that are on different spectrums than the physical pattern, in conjunction with the thalamus, which is a part of your core brain that relays sensory information. Like your thalamus decides which part of the brain sensory vibrational information goes to. So you can literally learn to overlap these two. In other words, you can learn to feel things that you see, and that's the most basic one. That's one of the ones we teach right away in the Awakening course, is learning to translate visual data into touch data. You can get way more advanced with that, and it's not as hard as you might think. You can learn to translate visual data into smell data. In other words, you can be looking at a tree that's 30 feet away from you. You can zoom in on it, like using your consciousness and sensitivity to feel the spot in your mind that tree's registering at, and then you can connect that visual pathway to your sense of smell pathway, and next thing you know, you're smelling that tree as though your nose is planted right in front of it, even though you're 30 feet away. And you can learn to do that with anything. We teach distance hearing, where you learn to expand your soul mass through the sense of touch and translate that into hearing data. And next thing you know, you're hearing dogs barking from miles away. You're hearing neighbors conversate within their houses. You can learn to get visual data from the hearing data to where you can actually see sound. It's really quite amazing. But a quote I like to say is that sensory overlap is the gateway to omnipresence, because the primary one being learning how to feel things that you can see, and that gives you an intimate connection to nature that otherwise is unobtainable. But when you're walking through a park and your soul mass is expanded, you're feeling the world as a part of yourself, and your senses are overlapped, it is a deep, enriching experience. I mean, it gives brand new meaning. Like, I constantly say that humanity is going the wrong direction, and it's only natural to seek extra stimulus. That's what consciousness does. It wants to be stimulated. So being that we're not in a society where people understand energy and consciousness, well, look at the type of stimulus they're chasing. Faster, better cars, newer iPhones, new relationships. People don't tend to stay in relationships. And it's getting to be even less and less that new job, the next sexual experience, the next chemical intoxication, the next material thing to generate extra stimulus so that you can feel better. Well, with energy mastery and consciousness tuning, you can see that all of that is inside of you and not dependent in any way, shape, or form on external symbols, which is all materialism really is. It's just external symbols for something that should really be inside of you. So when you learn these techniques, you can learn to appreciate this world and this human life in a completely different way, being outside the body and inside of it at the same time, intimately connected to all things. This world is a paradise, and the key to that paradise is nature, the natural pattern, the beauty that creates itself without us having to do a damn thing. It's quite miraculous, but your standard human these days doesn't have the tools to fully appreciate the natural world, and that's what we're bringing back big time. And once it's a part and ingrained in the normal society, then no longer would we even consider making technology that's out of tune with nature. No longer would we make disgusting cities that are just an eyesight pollution. We would get everything in harmony with the nature, because we would realize it for being the most precious gift we have. And people could just start realizing that all of the extra and enhanced sensations and stimulus that they need is available with their own consciousness in the natural world, and we much look forward to that.
Wonderful energy, and it has definitely been a pleasure to be on the panel with every one of you.
Likewise. Nice to meet you.
Absolutely.
Likewise to everybody. Thank you for all showing up.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Indeed. So, how are we doing? 1959. It's time to go. So, thank you, everybody. I'm going to thank everybody on No Borders Radio, Full Spirit Radio, and Andrew Bartzis for being the co-host this evening, as ever. So, good night, everybody.
And take it easy, everyone, and we'll catch you next Tuesday, 6 to 9 p.m. Pacific time.
And Dave, roll the credits, please.
You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.